Hi, I'm Pam Wright, Ward 3 Counselor at Large. Today I'm going to talk about Newton's proposed new zoning ordinance, concentrating on R1 or most SR1 lots. And it's based on revised Article 3, Version 3, dated 8/7/20, residential districts. Before we begin, if you move your mouse to the bottom, a bar will pull up, and to the far right, it says speed. If you click on that, you can change it from normal to 1.5 or 2, and you can get through this presentation a lot quicker. What is zoning? Zoning is a set of rules that control what may be built in each part of a community. Zoning divides land into different districts and regulates allowable building area and volume on a lot, determines which uses are allowed or prohibited in each district, and establishes additional guidelines for growth and development. Zoning started because of public health, and they wanted to separate the uses. Didn't want to have a factory in the middle of a residential neighborhood. Zoning came to Newton first in 1922. At that date, 12 of the 14 houses on my street were already built. So now you need to force those lots and those houses into a zoning code. And of course, it's not going to fit perfectly. And so you have non-conformance. In 1953, Newton was worried that it's getting overdeveloped, and they wanted to keep that residential or suburban feel. And so they require lots to be bigger and setbacks bigger. 2010 started working on a zoning redesign. And some things that came out of it are mixed use districts where commercial's on the bottom and residential on top. And presently, a lot of it is apartments, rentals, and I hope to see in the future more ownership or condos. Next, accessory apartments or ADUs, accessory dwelling units. And presently now, ADUs can be built by right in any house in the city. It needs to meet some requirements, but for the most part, any house could have an accessory apartment. Next is climate change. And with special permits, we've been pressing the passive house and electrification in large projects, and garage ordinance, which we just recently passed, where we try to reduce snout houses. And what a snout house is where the garage dominates the front of the house from the street. The planning department's in the process of proposing a new zoning code, a hybrid form-based code called context-based zoning, derived from the existing fabric of Newton. New builds and renovations are proposed to be built in the context of the neighborhood. Somerville has adopted this type of zoning code. So it sounds good. New builds and renovations are proposed to be built in the context of the neighborhood. But in reality, looking at the actual zoning code, for a lot of Newton, it doesn't happen. And I'll explain more later in the video. Oh, I want to point something out. In the bottom right here, I put where I took this slide from. And this slide, or the information in the slide, came from the ZAP 42720 report. And ZAP is zoning and planning. And that committee is made up of one city councilor from each ward, and I'm the Ward 3 representative. And we have meetings twice a month on Mondays, and we generally have another meeting or two thrown in there. So probably on average 3 meetings a month. So it's the city council. And then we also have other people that come to our meetings, and like the clerk's office and the law department, and also the planning department. And all those 3 departments do report to the mayor, and they advance her agenda. And we, the city council, are voted and elected by you and represent you. Oh, got to go over that slide. So these are our zoning goals, and we took a straw vote in ZAP on 42720. And the 3 goals are housing, sustainability, and context. Housing, a zoning code more responsive to a demand for housing that serves a range of incomes and promotes sustainable community development and patterns. Sustainability, environmental stewardship, fiscal strength, and meeting community needs. Context, preserve and protect what we like in our neighborhoods, encourage new development to fit in the context of our neighborhoods and villages. Some more about zoning. Intent: to provide a clear and predictable set of rules for development in Newton's residential neighborhoods. Goals: easy to use, minimize teardowns, reduce nonconformities, simplify process for minor modifications, and allow for neighborhood evolution in a controlled and consistent manner. Another slide from the planning department. So if a developer buys a lot, planning department says if the developer could build a house that's at least 3,800 square feet, cost to build is less than $600 per square foot, and he or she could sell it for a 2.5 purchase price, it's probably a tear down. The zoning ordinance, there's actually 12 articles and there's 4 districts, and we've spent the last year in the residential districts. And here are your 4 districts, and lot and setback standards are set by the district. Frontage, setbacks, lot coverage, and allowed building types. The zoning map. On the left here is our present zoning map, and on the right is the proposed zoning map. And the planning department determined which lot went in which zone. So in the current residential zoning, if you look in the key, there are 7 districts: single residence 1, single residence 2, single residence 3, SR 1, 2, and 3. We have 4 multi-resident districts: MR1, MR2, MR3, MR4. In the proposed zoning, we just have 5: R1, R2, R3, R4, and neighborhood general. So we're going from 7 to 5, and it's like apples and oranges, and it's kind of messy in there. It's not a smooth transition from 7 to 5, and you'll see more later. Another way to look at this change in the zoning is R1 is made up of 90% of the SR1 lots, which you would expect. It's also made up of over 2,000 SR2 lots. R2 district is the biggest district, which is more than the other 4 combined, and it's mostly SR2 and SR3. R3 is mainly MR1. R4 is MR1 and MR2, and neighborhood general, which is usually next to the villages, is MRs and some of the BU lots too. Another way to look at it, R1, the proposed R1 is here on the right. And on the left, it shows you what makes up R1. And the light yellow is the present day SR1. So you got West Newton Hill, Chestnut Hill, Oak Hill, but you have over 2,000 SR2 lots, which is most of Waubun, and over here near Newton Highlands, and then other parts of the city. R2, which is the largest zoning district, and it's all over the city, and it's mainly SR2 and SR3. R3, a lot on the north side, and then Newton Highlands and Upper Falls. R4, Nonantum and Newtonville, and a little bit in the Upper Falls. And N is generally outside the villages, so you have Newton Center, Waubun, West Newton, and also along some of the busier roads. Lot frontage. Lot frontage is the width of your lot near the front, near the street. Setbacks. To determine your setback, look at the lot lines, and your front setback is from the front of your lot, which is usually the sidewalk, back. And then your side setbacks are from your side lot lines, and your rear setback is from your rear lot line. And then you're going to make up this light green area, and that's where your house can be placed. Now, it can't take up that whole area, but you could go the width of this light green area and you would have a bigger backyard. Or you could go a little bit deeper and pull it in and you have a little bit bigger side yards. Lot coverage. This is an important term to understand. So presently, lot coverage is defined as the percentage of the lot area which is covered by buildings, including accessory buildings like a detached garage. The proposed definition for lot coverage in the proposed zoning is the percentage of lot area that's covered by structures, impermeable surfaces, paving, pavers, and decking, and any area used for parking, no matter the surface material. So visually, presently, lot coverage is your house and your detached garage. In the proposed zoning, it includes those two things, plus any parking, your driveway, your walkway, your deck, swimming pool, basketball court, tennis court. That's all included in lot coverage in the proposed zoning. Okay, lots of information. I'm going to take a break. And I need my readers. So I'm an engineer. I love data. I love spreadsheets. And I'm going to try to break this down so it's understandable. This is a great sheet. So in the top here, it's comparing our present residential districts with the proposed. And that chart was made by the planning department on 4/3/20. We had an update to the zoning code this summer, but they didn't update that chart. So I did it. So over here are my updates. So it only affected R4 and N. And I'm going to blow up these red areas that I marked here. So we're going to compare SR2 and R1. And as you can see here, 90% of the SR1 lots are in R1, but 20% are in from SR2. I mean, at 20%, 2,000 lots of SR2 are in R1. So let's look here. We have new lot and old lot. So remember, I talked about 1953 and the change of lot sizes. So on December 7th, 1953 was when that change was made. So the new lots are going to are going to be bigger. And the old lots are any lots created after 1950 or before 1953. So presently in our zoning, the minimum lot area for a new lot is 25,000 square feet for SR1. An old lot is 15,000 square feet. In the proposed zoning R1, there's no minimum requirement. The lot is determined by the lot frontage and your setbacks and your lot coverage. But in an SR1 area or an R1 now area, you could have a lot as small as 8,000 square feet or even smaller. It just depends how big of a house you want to put on that. Lot frontage. So in the new lots in SR1, it's 140 feet, old lot 100 feet, and in the proposed 80 feet. So what does that mean? If you have a lot that's a little bit wider than usual, and it's 160 feet wide, you could divide that lot in half. And so now you have two lots. Lot coverage. So this is that new term with the different definitions. So a new lot presently, lot coverage is 15%. Old lot is 20%. And in R1, now you have to include your driveway, your walkways, your swimming pool, tennis court, things like that. It is only 25%. So not much of a bump up there, but by special permit, you could add 10%. So you can go up to 35%. Where it becomes a problem is in a bigger problem, I should say, is SR2. So SR2 lot coverage, new lot is 20%, old lot is 30%. And in the proposed, it's 25%. And that includes a lot more. So let's say you have an old lot in SR2 and you're planning on putting an addition and using up 30% of your lot. Well, now you're saving your money, so you haven't done it. And if the new zoning goes through, you only allow 25%, but if you do a special permit, it's 35%. But that includes all that other impervious surfaces, you know, like your driveway and things like that. So you might not be able to do that addition, or it may need to be a lot smaller. So it will affect what you can do on your lot. Front setback. So in SR1, 40 feet, new lot, old lot 25 feet, proposed 25 feet. Side setback, new lot 20 feet, old lot 12 and a half, R1 20 feet. Where it causes a bigger problem is in SR2. So the side setback, new lot 15 feet, old lot 7 and a half. So let's say you have an old lot and you're planning to add a garage, and you're saving up your money and you just don't have quite enough money to pull the trigger and do the garage, and then the zoning changes. And you were planning to extend the side of your house 7.5 feet from your lot line to put on that garage next to your house. Well, now the side setback is 20 feet. So you went from 7.5 to 20. So you might not be able to add a garage, or maybe you thought you had a 2-car and now you can only do 1. You're going to have to reconfigure what you're going to do, and you might not even be able to add the garage. The next one is rear setback. So in SR1, presently it's 25 feet for both, and the proposed is 40 feet. And more issue is in SR2 because the rear setback is 15 feet. So again, here you want to extend your kitchen and add a family room out back, and you were going to do it within a 15 feet of your rear lot line. But now you're only allowed to come within 40 feet. So you might not be able to do it at all, or it has to be smaller, or you're going to have to think about it. It really will affect what you can do on your lot. The next couple, I'm going to go kind of quick. So if you take your mouse in the bottom, you can pause this and read through this a little more slowly. I'm going to compare R2 with presently SR2 and SR3. We're going to look at lot coverage. So presently it's 20 to 30%. And in the proposed, which includes all of those other areas like your driveway and your sidewalk and patio and stuff, it's 30%. It's the same amount. So you can do a special permit, go up to 40%, but it could affect what you want to do on your lot. Now we're going to look at the proposed R3 and R4 and compare it to presently MR1 and MR2. Again, we're going to look at lot coverage. So presently it's 30% for MR1 and MR2. In the proposed, it's 50 and 60%, and with a 10% bonus is 70%. So it's going kind of the other extreme. And you can have most of your lot be with impervious surfaces. So what that means is you're going to have a lot less green space and probably a lot more trees cut down. Okay, a lot of information here. Presently in our zoning code, we use FAR, floor area ratio, to determine the bulk, the size, the massing of a house on a lot. And so you take your lot area and times it by the FAR, and you come up with a number. Most cities and towns use FAR. It's a great tool. It's not perfect. I'd like to see it change slightly, but most people use that. And it helps to control the house size per the lot. So if you have a bigger lot, you're allowed a bigger house. If you have a smaller lot, you're allowed a smaller house. In the proposed zoning, what I think of it is one size fits all. You got a maximum house size and that's it. Doesn't matter what size your lot is. You know, you got the same size house on a 14,000 square foot lot or a 3-acre lot. Personally, I think you should take the context of the neighborhood into account on determining house size, because there are neighborhoods that have very, very big houses, which are on very big lots, and it would be appropriate to do that. And also, If you have small lots, you should have smaller houses on it. But we're going to go through these numbers and you can see how it works. So to read this chart, the circles here tells you which district each of these buildings are allowed. So house A, we have house A through D, and house A is only allowed in R1. House B is in all the districts. You go down here, you see R2 and it's dotted. That means special permit. The rest of them are by right. So house A is your biggest house. It's a colonial. The footprint, maximum footprint is 2,400 square feet. So that's basically your first floor. That's your footprint. And it's allowed to be 2.5 stories tall. So that's 2,400 times 2.5, that's 6,000 square feet. And that's the maximum house side. But you're allowed a 25% increase in your footprint if you have a side wing or a rear addition. So even though it's a new house, if you meet these requirements, you can call it a side wing and a rear addition, you can increase that 6,000 square feet to 7,500 square feet. So a 7,500 square foot house would fit on a 14,000 square foot lot, or, you know, like I said, you have a 3-acre lot, you can only still do 7,500 square feet. House B is allowed everywhere. It's 1,400 square feet, 2.5 story colonial. So 1,400 times 2.5 is 3,500 square feet, plus the 25% gives you 4,350. Now, what's written today in the proposed zoning actually allows on the smaller lots, on lots under 13,000 square feet and R2, it actually allows a bigger house than presently allowed in our present zoning code. And so a 7,000 square foot lot would be able to have a 4,350 square foot house, which is quite a big house on that lot. So if you're in R2, you have a 7,000 square foot lot or a 20,000 square foot lot, you still got the same maximum house size. House C is a cape or a bungalow. It's 1.5 stories. The footprint is 1,200. That's 1,800 square feet. And then 25% bump up is, I think, 2,250. House D is a ranch, 2,300 square feet, just 1 story. Duplex, and up to a duplex, you're allowed that 25% increase. And then after that, you're allowed a 10% increase. Now there's some building components that do not count towards the footprint, and those are porch, projecting entry, bay, balcony, roof deck, cross gable, dormer. Here's an example in West Newton Hill. It's 133 Bigelow. And this lot is pretty big. It's over 37,000 square feet. It's a corner lot, so it has a big lot frontage. This is your lot frontage all along here, 350 feet. And presently there's a house of 3,472 square feet. So what can be done with this lot? Remember, we need in R1 80 feet of frontage. So you could go 80 feet, pull the lot line back, 80 feet, pull it back, and then the rest of it will be the third lot. This is 175 feet. So this is roughly 14,000 square feet for each of these 2 lots. And then this third lot would be 9,400 square feet. Councilor Maliki did put in estimates of where the setbacks would be. And I marked it in yellow. So the house could be placed somewhere in this yellow. Again, it won't take up that whole area, but a partial part of it. And, you know, you still got your lot coverage to do. And so these 2 lots could support a 7,500 square foot house. And this is a smaller lot, and it would support between a 4,000 and 5,000 square foot house. You also could just divide the lot in half. And so you would have 2 lots just under 19,000 square feet. And you have a bigger area where you could place the house, but the house is the same size, 7,500 square feet. You could also do a rear lot back here. And then you probably could also divide this in half. And so you could have possibly 4 lots, but they would all be smaller houses. Okay, thank you, Lori Pellepew. And she did the research on this. The proposed new zoning would allow many more subdivided lots in West Newton Hill. So currently, in order to have a lot big enough to subdivide, you need 280 feet lot frontage in a 50,000 square foot lot. There's only 4 lots big enough that meet this minimum required in West Newton Hill. In the proposed zoning, you only need 80 feet of frontage for a lot. So to subdivide a lot, you need 160 feet. You don't have any minimum requirement of lot size. And there are over 130 lots in West Newton Hill that could be subdivided. So we went from currently 4 lots to 130. That's quite a bit. Here's an example how it would work. Let's say you have a lot of 30,000 square feet. So it's not 50,000 square feet, so you can't divide it on that. And the frontage is 160 feet and you need 280. So you can't divide it there either. And you got to meet both of them. So if this house is sold, the lot will stay intact. Now, in the proposed zoning, you just need 80 feet of frontage. So you have 160, so you can just divide this in half. And so this 30,000 square foot lot is now 2 15,000 square foot lots. And each of those would support a 7,500 square foot house. So with the proposed zoning for West Newton Hill, you went from 4 lots that could be subdivided to over 130. Rear lots. Both the current zoning and the proposed zoning allow it, but it's different in the requirements. Both are by special permit, and the proposed allows a smaller house. And in this picture, this is, a cute little cottage. But in the proposed zoning, it allows a house C, which is a bungalow or cape. So this is Councillor Malachi's house, which is a bungalow. And the size that would, maximum size that you could have in a rear lot subdivision in the rear lot would be 40% bigger than this house here, but it'll be this type of house. So if you have a lot here and you want to subdivide it, you're going to need some way to get in the back. So this access can be part of this lot, or you could have an easement. This could be an easement on this lot. And then in the back, in the proposed zoning, you could only do a house C, a smaller house. And in the front, you can do a much bigger house. Planning department then want to compare the current and the proposed zoning and what's lot sizes and other requirements for rear lot subdivision. So currently, in order to do a rear lot, you need a lot that's 55,000 square feet. That's big. And your rear lot would be 30,000 square feet. The house could be 36 feet tall, 2.5 stories, or 3 stories by special permit, and it could be 3,600 square feet. In the proposed zoning, there's not a minimum lot size, but planning department kind of reversed engineered it and calculated that it needed to be, the lot needed to be 15,600 square feet in this example. So this is, much, much smaller than the 55,000 square feet. So it's more than, or it's less than a third. And the rear lot would be 7,600 square feet. And the house C, that cape or bungalow, would be 18 feet tall, 1.5 stories, and 1,800 square feet. Plus you got the 25% bump up. Again, for both houses, you need to meet your lot coverage and setbacks and stuff. So the only thing to take away from this chart from the planning department is that 25% of the lots in each district have the minimum depth required to create a rear lot. 25%, that's a lot. So this is not going to happen overnight. This probably will happen most often if a house is sold to a developer and they'll add a house in the back. Occasionally someone may decide to put a house in the back, but I think most cases though will be by developers. Okay, this summer we had an update in our proposed zoning code, and a few things were added, and this is one of them, where you're allowed 2 units in new construction anywhere in the city. And a lot of people were very concerned, and we had community engagement in December, and a lot of people spoke up and they wrote to us and the mayor and that. And so in December, ZAP Chair Crossley and City Council President Albright said, okay, 2 units in new construction everywhere in the city, we're going to take it off the table for 2021. So to me, that says, oh, it's back on the table for 2022 after the elections. But they also continue, but we're going to keep it in for areas near villages and transit. And most people, or a lot of people, consider near being within a half mile. Some people a quarter mile, half mile. So it's still going to be allowed in the proposed zoning, you know, near villages and transit. And then I believe we're going to talk about it next year for the rest of the city. Multi-unit conversion. What that is existing houses are allowed to be converted into smaller apartments. And there's a requirement of 1,200 square feet average per unit for just a regular conversion. And if the units are affordable or sustainable, they only need 900 square feet average. So if you have a 4,000 square foot house, you could divide it either into 3 units, or if it's all the units are either affordable or sustainable, you could convert it to 4 units. And this was last summer proposed to be everywhere in the city. Again, people were very concerned about it. And it is also by right up to 6 units. So they were concerned, they spoke out, they wrote to us, and then Councilor Crossley and City Council Councilor Albright said, okay, we're going to take multi-unit conversion by right up to 6 units everywhere in the city off the table for 2021. So to me, again, that means, oh, it's going to be back on the table in 2022. But they continue, we're going to keep it for areas near the village centers and near transit. So that's where we stand right now. Another added element this summer was eliminating parking requirements for single and 2-family homes, and that was added this summer. My concern is there's going to be a lot of pressure to remove the winter parking ban. This chart sums up a lot of the proposed zoning. So on the left here are your different districts and your lots. And it shows you your lot coverage, and you can do a 10% bump up from these numbers for special permit and your setbacks. And over here, it shows you your different house types and where they are located, and by right or special permit, and how tall they can be, and up to duplex, they can increase 25%, and the ones afterwards 10%. Then we have rear lots. They're allowed everywhere in the city, only by special permit. Multi-unit conversion, so it kind of changed a little bit from this summer, but we're talking about allowing it near village centers and near transit, which all these residential districts are near those areas. And up to 6 units by right, and more than 6 units would be by special permit. And courtyard cluster and multi building assemblage, we didn't talk about, that's in R4 and N. Some more changes are needed to our zoning ordinance. So in January, the governor signed the Economic Development Bond Bill, which included housing choice. And where it's going to affect us is in housing choice, lowers the required vote from 2/3 majority to simple majority. And for us, that's on special permits. So what's going to happen is, for special permits, especially for, you know, big projects, you only need a simple majority. Presently, from my knowledge, almost every one of these big projects have been approved by special permit. Yes, they take a while. Yes, it's messy. Yes, it goes back and forth, but I think it's a better project for the city of Newton because of that. in what the governor is forcing upon us is a simple majority. So if you, especially if you have a lot of councilors that like a lot of these big projects and won't push back as much with the developers, they may go through a lot quicker. And I believe they won't be as good of a project for the city. Another item that came out of the housing choice bill is requiring at least one district of reasonable size, and reasonable size is not defined, in which multifamily housing, which means 3 or more, is permitted as of right. Has to have a density of 15 units per acre. So that's a triple decker per 8,700 square feet lot, and within a half mile from the commuter rail. So I've asked planning department and the law department to kind of interpret what's coming out of the state from the governor and what it means to us. I have some ideas on how to address this, but presently we only allow 1 and 2 families by right. Anything bigger than that, it's special permit. So here it's basically saying we got to pick an area where at a minimum that we would allow 3 families by right. And this shows you some of our transit. So we have our commuter rail here, and the outer circle is a half mile, and the inner circle, you kind of see that, is a quarter mile. And this you have along the green line and also over here on the B line. And this is just residential. So if you don't see anything, it might be commercial, it might be a golf course, whatever. But the yellow and the darker red, that is all residential. And the yellow is single family and the darker color is multifamily. So where are we now? So we spent the last year talking about residential districts. We didn't get through it all. There's more to discuss, but we're pushing it aside for right now. I hope we'll have a robust discussion on our present zoning code and the proposed zoning code, especially about FAR and what the zoning can and cannot do and the tools in each and what's the best way moving forward. Then we're going to take a look, a geography-based approach, and we're going to look at the village centers and the transit nodes next, followed by the corridors. And the corridors are defined in the comprehensive plan. There's regional and local corridors. So the regional corridors are Washington Street, Route 9, Needham Street, and Newton Corner. The local corridors are Comm Ave, Beacon Street, Center Street, Chestnut Street, Lexington Street, Watertown Street, and there's others, but you get the idea. And we're going to be talking about higher density residential developments along the corridors. I don't know if it's just the regional or it'll include the local corridors. And then we're going to cover single purpose districts. That's hospitals, university, and even Wells Ave. And finally, we're going to come back to the neighborhoods. So I presented a lot today on the Newton's proposed new zoning. I think zoning is important. If you want to, I think you should stay on top of it because it will affect you and your neighborhood and your house and what you can do on your lots. And you can write to me at pwright@newtonma.gov and we can have a phone conversation. We can go over email. I can do a Zoom with you, some neighbors, whatever. But I think it's important to stay on top of this and write your city councilors, all of us, and the mayor, and tell us what you like, what you don't like, where you want to see this to progress. And I will produce some more of these down the line and hope to make it to a point where it's more easily understandable. Thank you.